today's topic is not very cheerful one. A lot of contemplative if you already read this book and it makes you think or remind you of something that we are already familiar with. Today's book is heavy and this is supposed to be a children's book, but I think it's too heavy for a children's book. So maybe today I'm not going as cheerful as usually because this topic is not cheerful, it's heavy and deep and gleam. So let's get to it. What's in your mind when you heard about the end of the time, or the judgment day, or the day where everything we know is ruined, or the end of everything? It's terrifying. And actually, last night I watched a YouTube video about someone. Actually, it's a podcast with a cleric talking about the end of the time, and it's terrifying, made me scary. And today I'm a bit procrastinated to making this video because it's so heavy and I feel like I cannot do it. I need a lot of mental clarity, a lot of energy and mental preparation before bringing about this topic. And today the book we are going to review is The Chronicles of Narnia, The Last Battle. This is the last book of the Chronicles of Narnia series and the heaviest one. I don't think this is for the children, unlike the other of Narnia books before. This book is described the end of Narnia times, and surprisingly it's very biblical. This book is written by C.S. Lewis and published in 1956 with the genre of fantasy. This is the continuation of the Chronicles of Narnia. The previous book is The Silver Chair. Actually, I have been very curious about this book because what the last battle will be telling us. From what I heard, that Susan is no longer included in the story and what's going on. So I decided to read it, and it is deeper than I thought. Narnia, where lies breed fear, where loyalties are tested, where all hopes almost lost. In Narnia's final days, the land faces its greatest challenge yet, not from a foreigner power without, but from an enemy within. Lies and betrayal take hold, and only the king and a small band of loyal followers can prevent the destruction of all they hold dear in the final story of the Chronicles of Narnia. That is the synopsis I got from the back of the book because it's not really describe what's going on, the synopsis in the back of the book, just the big line and the dramatic storyline. I think everything about the story is dramatic. And a little spoiler, from the synopsis, it is said that only a king and small band of loyal followers can prevent the destruction of all they hold dear in Narnia. Spoiler, they did not prevent it. They tried to prevent it, but they did not successful. So what happened? I'm going to telling you from the beginning to the end, because the story is described in detail and I cannot explain every detail of what's really going on. There are battles, there are betrayal, and it is very morally complex that I think you should read it yourself. So when you open the book, I don't see map, but usually in this edition there are always map in front of the book when you open it. After this, usually there is a map, like 2 pages for Narnia map, but There is no map in this book. So at the beginning of the story, you would be greeted by two creatures, Narnian creatures, a monkey or an ape with a donkey. As we know that Narnian animals could talk, even the trees could talk too. So the foolish donkey named Puzzle, he is tricked by a clever and manipulative ape called Shift. Puzzle is the donkey and Shift is the ape. One day they took a walk to the cauldron pool on Narnia, and in the river they found a lion's skin. With his wit and his cleverness, Shift manipulated Puzzle to wear the lion's skin and to pretend to be an Aslan. Shift convinces Puzzle to wear the lion's skin and pretend to be Aslan. Then Shift spreads the lie of Aslan and giving the harsh new order. Of course, this is make other Narnians suspicious because how could Aslan giving this cruel order? There are no Aslan as being gentle one. And this new order included allowance to trees to be cut down. Remember that trees is alive too, they could talk. Talking animals to be enslaved, and the enemies of Narnia, the color men, to enter and take control. This news spread and arrived to the king of Narnia at that time, King Tyrion, from three dryads. So this three dryad is come before King Tyrion. She is crying because all of her kin being taken down, the trees. And this made King Tyrion angry. Like the other good king, King Tyrion decided to fight back whoever caused this. But he got outnumbered. He only had very few of army compared to the Kellerman. By that time, Kellerman is already the troops of the false Aslan, or in this case is Shift. Long story short, he got captured. King Tyrion got captured, and then he is calling for help from other world. He remembered that the past kings like Caspian and Rilian got help from children from other world. So he calling for help, and coming Jill and Eustace. Jill Pole and Eustace Scrub are two children from our world that introduced in the previous book, The Silver Chair. They are who rescued Prince Rilian on the previous book. So as the Kellermen taking over the territory of Narnia, they also bring their tradition. In this case is introducing their dark god named Tash. But what's more evil is Shiv mixing the good and the evil together, claiming that Tash is equal as Aslan. When the Narnian questioning why is Tash now being introduced and they must respect Tash, while they are actually respecting Aslan. If you ever read or watch Narnia, you know that Aslan is some kind of like Narnian's god. But I won't say the Narnians worship Aslan because it's actually Narnian did not worship Aslan. They are more like respecting and bowing to Aslan. So when Shift claimed that Tash is equal to Aslan, it caused confusion. It is very evil, I think, because, well, in this book, Tash is described as the god who are really bloodthirsty, while Aslan is the opposite. And how could someone mixing two different figures and say it as the same? And because of Tash being called, I don't know if Shift really think that Tash is real like Aslan, or maybe they don't believe that Tash is real because they don't believe Aslan is real. So when the Tash finally appear on Narnia, they are all frightened because they don't expect that this figure is really exist, you know. So when Tyrion captured, he was not alone. He was with his companion, his loyal unicorn named Jewel. And when the children, Eustace and Jill, came, they didn't rescue Jewel, they only rescued Tyrion. So after they gather their preparation, their weapon, they come back to the stable where initially Tyrion and Jewel were captured to release Jewel. Tyrion wanted to release Jewel and Jill kidnapped the false Aslan, or the donkey itself, Puzzle. And surprise that Puzzle is actually a believer. He didn't want to be the false Aslan. He believed in Aslan and he knew that what he did was wrong, but he doesn't have power to confront Shift because the ape is more clever than the donkey. And then together they're gathering the remaining believers on Narnia. Actually, the army are not a lot compared to the Colormen because the final battle, Tyrion and the remaining believers of Narnia against the Colormen, it's like 5,000 against 1,000. And not to mention the Colormen calling for aids from their country, so there are more troops to come. But it is a miracle because Tyrion's army could defeat all of them. By the end of the battle, actually Aslan is coming to rescue them, and the believers of Aslan, the Narnians who are died, go inside the stable. So the stable door is some kind of gate because when they entered the stable, they did not enter the stable, they entered the real Narnia, the new world. In this book, it's described as very similar to Narnia but deeper, like it's layered, When they already reach the end of Narnia, there are more of Narnia, more similar again, like layer by layer, like onion. The new Narnia, the real Narnia, is actually heaven because there are a lot of familiarity, including the residents of Narnia that beforehand already died, like Prince Caspian, Mr. Thomas. All of them are there, and all of them are, I don't know if they are young or not, but it's only described that they are alive and well inside the real Narnia, and they are happy. There was also the Pevensie siblings, except for Susan. So what's really going on is they are all having train accident and they are died, including, like all of the people from our world that went to Narnia except Susan. Basically, all of them are dead. They got into Narnia. And the final message is this is actually literally, you could read it in the book, I remember. The term is over. The holidays have begun. The dream is ended, and this is the morning. The story ends with the idea that the old Narnia was only the shadow of the true one. Actually, has a lot of interpretation. I have two interpretations of this story. One is biblical and one is personal growth. Like the interpretation could be literal, like you read on the Bible, or if you are a Muslim in Islam, it's kind of very similar to that. But it could be also a metaphor for mental growth. But I will explain it later. Now we are going to see who is who in this story. There are a lot of characters, and the first two characters that introduced in this story, of course, Puzzle, the donkey, and Shift, the ape. Puzzle, like any other donkey described, they are fool. Despite being a foolish, he is a true believer. It is shown that later he joined Tyrion's army to fight against the Kellerman. Meanwhile, Shift, he is more like power hungry rather than believe or not believe. I think he doesn't believe anything. He doesn't believe in Aslan, he doesn't believe in Tash. What he believes is that his belly is full, he has power, and he could be the king. In this dynamic, we know that the one who wants to be the false Aslan is actually Shift, because he wants power. Once he knew that he could be the ruler of Narnia, he can get anything he wants. But why don't Shift wear the the lion skin himself? because he's a monkey and the lion skin is not fit him. So he put it on the puzzle and he played to be Puzzle's advisor. But actually Puzzle never say anything. All of the order are came from the shift, not from Puzzle. Puzzle is like a pawn on Shift's game. Obviously, there's also the last king of Narnia, Tyrion, and his loyal companion, unicorn named Jewel. If you ever watch the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe, this one here, Peter Pevensey, he was riding a unicorn to the battle. And I think it's a different unicorn. I don't know unicorns' lifespan, how long they could live. If you know, please let me know in the comment how long usually unicorn live. Or maybe Narnian's unicorn is different breed. And of course there is also Eustace Angel, Eustace Crab Angel Pole. I would bet that their time in the real world, they are whining about when are we going back to Narnia. Later, Eustace told Tyrion about how they could go to Narnia. It is included help from Peter and Edmund Pevensey because like the Diggory Kirk told they have to find some kind of key to go back to Narnia, and then Diggory told where this key is stored, and it was under the house in the city of London or something like that. And then Peter and Edmund went there to dig up to get the key and pretend to be a plumber service. So long story short, they got the key, but only Eustace and Jill could come back because the Pevensies, all of them are already too old. So Edmund and Peter are going to give this key to Jill and Eustace. But they haven't gave the children the keys because they already got train incident first. So from what I understand that Jill and Eustace were not live in London. So they are traveling to London to meet Peter and Edmund to get the key. But on the way there, they had train accident and they are died. They have not even touched the key. But they're already back to Narnia because, well, it's like their second life there. But what baffling me is also how the hell the other Pevensey could go to Narnia too, when the ones who had train accident are Jill and Eustace. It's also described that Lucy, Diggory, and Polly were on the train too. But for what? Like, why are they on train too? And how Edmund and Peter could go to Narnia too? How did they die? It's not really explained in the book. There are also the Calormans. The Calormans are actually people of the country of Calor. I don't know. I haven't read the first book, or I think the key who is the Calorman is in the story of The Horse and His Boy. Because, like I told you before, I read the Chronicles of Narnia in backwards, so I started from the last battle. Currently, I'm still on the voyage of the Downtreader. I haven't even read The Horse and His Boy, but I know a bit where the story would took on the book of The Horse and His Boy. There are Calormen and also there are other country besides Narnia and Calormen, and it's also took place there. So the Calorman is described as has darker skin. From what I imagine, the Calorman is like Indians or Arab, mix of them, like from there. And there is also Aslan. I don't have to explain who is Aslan. Aslan is the lion, the massive lion of Narnia, the god of Narnia. And then Pevensies without Susan. Now why Susan not get into Narnia? In this book described as she is more interested in lipstick and spandex and invitation, and considered that Narnia only a childish games that they were playing. Now I heard that many people interpret this as Lewis describes Susan like this is sexist, but it could be not too. I mean, Susan could be just more realistic. Before we go to interpretation, I will give my first impression about this book first. My interpretation is I did not expect this book could be this deep. I haven't read Narnia's before. I only watched it and it was a fun movie. It was not, it was a fun movie, like a lot of action, a lot of siblings dynamic, and a lot of wonder. But this book is like, make me think about the end of the time. I mean, if you read a Bible or Quran or other scripture that describe the end of the time like this, you could find many familiarities. And I had to stop reading once I almost at the end because I could not process it. Like, this is so sad. Like, oh my gosh, I feel sad. I feel too heavy. If I'm read this to the end, if I didn't stop, I would cry. And I stopped for 2 days or so before I pick this book again and finish it. Although the end is happy ending, it's a good ending, but I still feel sad because like I feel like all of the Narnia before this, I feel like I experienced Narnia myself. Like I'm the Pevensies. I went to Narnia, I experienced Narnia, I fight with the Narnians, and then suddenly it ends. Like, what happened? Why? Why it's not exist anymore? I know that Aslan gave us the new Narnia, the better Narnia, the deeper Narnia, the more beautiful Narnia, but I still cannot shake the feeling of something taken away from me, something that has history with me. You know what I mean? Personally, despite this book for kids, I don't think this book is for kids. It's too heavy for kids to understand. If kids read this, maybe they will come with a lot of questions and they will not find this book is fun but rather confusing. I think this book is more for young adult. Even if this book is not fun like the other Narnia book, young adult people would understand the story complexity and the context. Alright, now we are moving to interpretation. Like I said before, this book has two interpretations for me. The first interpretation is the literal interpretation about the end of the time. I don't know about the biblical similarities because I'm not Christian and I haven't learned about it that far. But I noticed a bit of similarities to Abrahamic beliefs about the end of the time. First, the appearance of false Aslan. This is false god. In the Christianity, maybe it's similar to Antichrist, and in Muslim, it's similar to Dajjal. They are like God. They claim could do anything, but unless in the real religion, they really could do anything. But they are not God. They are just false god. And then King Tyrion, he is some kind of like Messiah who fights back the false god. I don't know in Christian if you know what King Tyrion equality to Christian beliefs, but in Muslim, he is not the Jesus, he is not the Prophet Isa. He is more like Al-Mahdi, someone who would fight Dajjal, but not the main player. And then Aslan is the true savior, like the Jesus who came. And then about mixing the good and evil, Tash equal to Aslan, it is actually already happened, and it is the evil we saw every day. For example, if you see clerics or the priest in many religions, they're supposed to teach religion to people, they're supposed to guide, but while doing so, many of them are not really trusted. They mix their ego with the religion or something like that, but mostly it's ego for their own profit. So calling something false is right in the name of religion. It is very evil because they teach the falsehood in the name of God. And I think that is the big sin in many religions. And the final battle. It is the final battle, also similar to the final battle that would be happen by the end of the time in Abrahamic religion, like Jesus and Almighty facing the Antichrist or Dajjal. And then this is what really that is, I think, very vivid, that is really taken from the scripture. By the end of Narnia, the animals, the mega animals, the animals that look like lizard or snake, crawling animals, came from inside the Narnia to destroy everything. And this is very, very identical to the beliefs, to there will be crawling animal, coming out from inside earth to destroy everything before the biggest final of the time happen. And then of course the gate, it is stable gate. The stable gate turned into the heaven's gate. I don't really have comparison with interpretation between literal religion comparison to the mental growth, but there are two characters that I could interpret as a literal or metaphorical. So when they finally got into the heaven, the real Narnia, they met dwarfs and Lucy greeting them, but they couldn't see anything. These dwarfs, despite being inside the real Narnia, the heaven, they cannot see the beauty of the heaven. And then Lucy is crying. What is wrong with them? I interpret this as two things. First, because they don't believe in God, in this case is Aslan, they cannot feel the miracle that Aslan gave to them. In many religions, if someone did not believe in God, they are blinded away from God's love, the good things that God provides. And then the believers like Lucy would say, what is wrong with them? Because they don't understand. And the second interpretation is, it could be interpreted as someone who refused to grow, When someone is grow, they're outgrown the old belief. And they got very comfortable with their old belief. The dwarf could be interpreted as someone who refused to grow once they face with a new belief, with a new reality, but they keep denial and they stay in their old beliefs, even though that's no longer serving them. It could be interpreted like that. And then the second character is Susan Pevensey. This is actually the same, like Susan is not a believer anymore, and whatever they did when they were a child, it was just a play, like someone who lose their faith and choose the practicality of life. But also, it could be described as Susan, now already growing up and become the practical adult, It could be like, if Narnia, if Aslan is the religion, maybe Susan is now agnostic. Like she is questioning, is this even real or not? Or maybe she is completely not believe anymore. But I think Susan is questioning. And there are most of the things about Narnia that she no longer believes. That's why she didn't come to Narnia. I thought I was just talking a bit about this book, but actually it's already been a long time. So I'm not going to add anything anymore. I think I already covered anything and everything I want to talk about from this last book of Narnia. It's heavy, and I suggest you to read it. I mean, it doesn't matter if you want to read the Narnia before on sequence 1 to 7 or backwards, or if you want to read not in sequence, whatever. I thought it would be fun to see this on movie, but after reading this, I also think that it would be so hard to make this book, The Last Battle, as a movie because of the complexity. Imagine if this is adapted to a movie and it got many critics, especially from the religious leader. I also heard that C.S. Lewis talking. He said, Narnia is not meant to be adapted to movie, but there are still directors that want to make Narnia. Especially the latest news we heard that Greta Gerwig is adapted Narnia. The first Narnia, The Magician's Nephew. It is rumored to be on Netflix, but I don't know. There are so many people on TikTok uploading video that Narnia shooting in my backyard. Yeah, let's see when this movie is released. I don't know when actually. I think it won't be this year because from the list of movie going to release this year, I don't see Narnia. Before closing this video, actually, I feel so hesitate making this one because it's such a sensitive topic. It touch religions, maybe three religions at once, maybe two, or anyway. It's not only about fictional religion, but it's the author is adapted from real religions, and this is very sensitive topic. I'm afraid that I make a lot of mistake because I'm not pro in religion. I mean, I'm a believer, but I'm not like know everything because this is Ramadan. Talking about this book and compared to the real religion is like having a little bit of religion class. It's a coincidence. Well, in my country, every Ramadan, in every school, actually, there are a few days or a week called Sanwat or Pesantren Kilat. It is classes, short classes, few days before Eid holiday or the national long holiday came, and it is religion classes usually teaching about religion. It like reading Quran and learning about Islamic history, something like that. And I feel like what I'm doing today is similar to that, although I don't want to go there. Like, I'm not, about religion and spirituality is something very sensitive that if I can, I want to avoid talking about this. It's been a long time. I feel like I'm yapping by the end of this. Anyway, if I made mistake describing about this topic, because this topic is not like usual topic, it's not like the previous book reviews that I could just searching for the fact, and this is concerning some religion and I need confirmation from people who are more expert. So if you know more about this, please let me know. And if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. I'm not pro, I'm not expert. I'm still learning. Thank you for watching. If you like this kind of in-depth interpretation, book reviews, please do check my channel. I have playlist. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if you want. Well, I'll see you in another book review video. Bye.